And now, as you can see, we can start measuring, and we can first do slices from any angle and on any position that we need. So this is the equivalent of cutting the index.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jenny and I'm a part of education team at Medit. Nice to meet everyone. And today we have Dr. Bogdan here. How are you, doctor?
Hello everyone, nice to be here.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. I've prepared a new content for you. This is a technique that I've developed and used for several years now, for 1 or 2 years, and it's helped me a lot. So I think this is also going to help a lot of people around the world with Medit scanners, which also I think is the only scanner that actually allows this workflow. So it's going to be interesting.
So it's kind of new to hear about digital putty index. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, we are going to take a workshop that we've built before. I showed how in the previous webinars, and now we always were able to perform measurements in Medit scans. So when you do your preps, you could compare how much you've prepped, but from the pre-op image. Well, the pre-op image, as good as it should be, and it's a good technique, but we would need to actually compare to what we want to achieve, and what we want to achieve is actually the wax-up. So we should know how much we should prepare in regards to the wax-up. It's a similar technique like preparing through a mock-up, but preparing through a mock-up, sadly, is not always possible, because this works when you do additive dentistry and when the mock-up is thicker than the actual pre-op. But when you do subtractive dentistry and it's going to be thinner, you can't actually overlay the mock-up over the teeth and prep through it. So this is why this method helps a lot and is going to be very useful when you just try to measure from the prep teeth to the wax-up.
Okay, that's like a summary of the lecture that you're going to do it today, right?
Yeah, that's actually the point that we're showing today.
Okay, then shall we begin, doctor?
Yeah, of course. Hello everyone. Today I am going to showcase how to use the wax-up that we have learned how to build and integrate this wax-up in our scanning application, and we are going to see how this wax-up can replace the need of a silicon index that we've always used in analog dentistry, and how this will solve a lot of problems that I had in my usual protocols. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. As you can remember, in the analog approach, we took some putty, and with this putty we just coated the model and the wax-up, and after everything hardened, we used the scalpel blade to cut through this material, to this silicon, as you can see on the right, and we tried to have a good angle of view, because after we did the preps, we just used this index and sliced multiple times through it to be able to measure and to see if the reduction is sufficient, or if we need to do more reductions of prepping of the teeth. And this is for me time consuming, and I need to do multiple slices. And so the easiest approach in my mind would be to just use the wax-up directly in the scanning application and do the measurements from any angle and from any position that I want directly in the scanning tool. And this is what I wanted to show you all along. So let's see how this happens, what the protocol is. I'll maximize everything so that you can see the movie better, and also I will try to provide as many information as possible. So in MeditLink, to start, we are going to do a new case, a different case as we first did the pre-op, and in this case we are starting to design the appropriate teeth, And we are going to use the files we previously scanned from the patient and used to do the WhatsApp, but I won't load directly the pre-op stage because this time I just want to make sure that the new files won't overwrite the old ones. And for this, we are not going to rescan the patient. We are just going to import the previous files. As you can see here, we are going to do 6 Emacs crowns. And after everything is done in the form phase, we are going to open scan for clinics. Everything is going to be empty. We are only needing to do this on our computer without a scanner connected. We can prepare everything before the patient gets in. In the maxillary stage, we are going to import the previous case. We are going to search for it, and we are going to load the pre-op. We are going to confirm everything, and now the file just goes right in. Next one will be the antagonist, the mandible. This is also very simple. We just are going to locate this and load it as well. Everything is very fast. You're not going to lose any time. And now we are going to actually import the occlusions. First, the right one, the first occlusion. As you can see, they are not aligned. So for this to happen, we are going to load both of them. And after we have them, we are just going to realign the case just by one point clicking. So very easy. As you can see, everything matches together. And after we do this, we are going to go forward. Everything is aligned. But as I can see here, I loaded the pre-op in the op stage. So I want to correct this error. I'm just going to assign the pre-op phase. And now by just press, and I'm also going to add an additional stage. Just by pressing the pre-op, the pre-op maxilla is going to be copied here as well, but the occlusion is going to be out of place. So we are going back here. We are going to say that these occlusions taken are for the pre-op stage. And as you can see, they turn gray. And we are going to rematch them. And this is going to be, again, very easy. Just one point clicking. I also show you these little errors because it's important for you to know how to correct them if they happen. As you can see, everything is already aligned. And now we have our new case with the old data aligned into place. The occlusion is optimized. And now in the additional stage, what we're going to do, we're going to find our WhatsApp and load it as well. It is going to be out of place regarding the pre-op. And because this happens, we are going to also need to align this stage to the pre-op. We check that everything is correctly loaded and that the WhatsApp is correctly merged to the model as I've shown in previous webinars. And now we are going to go to the pre-op stage. And in the base, we are going to say that we want to align this WhatsApp to the pre-op. It's also going to be very easy because data is the same, but for the WhatsApp teeth. And as you can see here, when we align everything is going to be green, except the WhatsApp. And now, in the op stage, the next step we do is prepare the model for scanning. And to do so, we are going to cut out the teeth. And here, the protocol is very important. I always try to do this by painting. I am going to try to cut as much of the fixed gingiva as needed. You have to remember that you are going to use retraction paste and you are going to use retraction cords. And all these means of displacing the soft tissue are also going to modify the geometry. So you have to cut enough of the fixed gingiva so that the software can add the displaced tissue as new data, but still can stitch this new data to a previously existing data of the fixed gingiva that was already recorded in the pre-op. As you can see here, this is done thoughtfully. I could do this before the patient comes in, so I can take as much time as I need. Also, if you have a bridge that you need to cut out, then there the protocol is a little different, because all of the fixed gingiva will stay the same. You don't need to displace anything there, because you don't need to use paste or retraction cord. So this, please cut as close to the bridge as possible. Now that everything has been deleted properly, as you can see, we also try to erase data from the interproximal areas, because we want to record them as well in HD. Now that everything is done, we are going to go to the lock stage. And here I am just marking everything. And at this point, everything is blocked and I can only add new data. And I will do this by switching on the HD function. And after I switch the HD function, I will schedule my patient. Everything is going to get opened again. And at that point, I'm going to re-record my case in HD. Only the missing only the cutout teeth are going to be re-recorded. And as you can see here, everything is in place. And now we are going to actually be able to measure the difference between the prepped teeth and the pre-op stage. As everyone knows, this is a function that we have for a long time in Medit. But there are multiple new options here. As you can see, we just mark everything, and now the case gets processed. We can set the correct values that we need, the distance to the antagonist, the distance to the adjacent teeth, the reduction depth, if we are going to apply a uniform tooth reduction, or we will use different values. And now the software displays shows how much of these values were achieved by the preparation, and we can go forward. But now we are going to just switch off any stage that we are working on, and now on the left, as you can see, we have a tree of all the stages that were recorded, and we are going to switch off the antagonist. We are going to switch off our pre-op as well, and now on this stage, we can see we have the wax up on top of our prep teeth. And this is the actual innovation in this work process. We can now, instead of measuring the prepped data to the pre-op stage, we can measure this data to the wax up. As you can see in the measure, with the measure tool, we just select the teeth we prepped. On top, we also have the data of the wax up. And now the software stitches together these raw files, these two raw files, the wax up and the prep teeth. And now, as you can see, we can start measuring, and we can first do slices from any angle and on any position that we need. So this is the equivalent of cutting the index with a scalpel, as you can see here. And after doing multiple slices, this you cannot do it without multiple indexes that you record from the wax up on the model. In the digital work process, you can do everything in one go. And as you can see here, we can see the prepped tooth below the wax up. And now we can add any measurement that we need, from distances to angles to surfaces. So anything needed is going to get in these measurements. I always like to uncheck the actual meshes so that I can see the slices better and know exactly where I can put my measuring points. But you can also leave them checked. And as you can see here, we do as many measurements as needed. Now we switch the pre-op state back in, and now we do a new merging. And in this stage, because we also added the pre-op, we can do measurements of the wax up together with the pre-op and together with the prep teeth. So this can also be done. You can also see the differences between the pre-op stage and the wax up stage. Now, by checking the sliders, we can do more transparent pre-ops or wax-ups. Now we did a slice. Let's see every value here. And as you can see, in purple we have the wax-up, in green we have the pre-op, and yellowish is the prep stage. And here you can also do measurements even between the wax-up and the pre-op. Now, let's check another protocol. We are going to go to the pre-op stage and delete the pre-op. And in this stage, I am going to actually load my wax-up. And because this new data is not aligned properly, we are just going to align it to now the prep stage. And I'll show you right away why we do this. I'm going to do a 3-point alignment right now. Everything is again correctly aligned because the data is always the same. And now we can go, but now we need to go to the occlusion phase. And why we go here? Because the occlusion taken was taken taking into account the pre-op stage. And here, some teeth that we took the occlusion upon are missing in the wax-up stage or being modified, and the software can get confused about this. So we are going to stop here and delete the data that does not exist. For example, here the canines are modified, and the wax-up contains different data than the occlusion stage and the pre-op stage. And we are just going to switch on the cutting tools, and I'm going to delete the canines here. As you can see, it's a very easy process. And after I delete the data that does not exist anymore in the pre-op, actually the wax-up stage, that is now the pre-op stage, after we delete everything, we are going to realign the stages by simple 1-point clicking. And now the software will do the correct calculations. Also, after doing this, I am going to ask you to go to, let's see, I'm going to ask you to go to the next stage, the final stage, and now here we are going to align our wax-up model in the correct position to the occlusal plane that the software uses. It is automatically done, but you can correct it a little. After you do this, the software is going to number your teeth, your prep teeth. Sometimes this is done correctly, but if not, as you can see here, the teeth are overextended. The selection is overextended. You're just going to need to go back here and cut the data with the sculpting tools and just leave the correct prep teeth in the selection. Don't worry about going with your brush over the adjacent teeth. Only the selected tooth is modified, as you can see. Now, when you deselect, I'm also going to go over the incisor, but nothing is going to get modified there on the selection. So just take into account to modify your selected tooth. As you can see here, we are going to erase the data that we don't need in the calculation. Please just take your time and do the correct selection, because this selection is actually going to give you the reduction results in the correct measurements. I'm going to go a little faster here, and now in the Smart Scan view, you are actually going to see results. Let's see. We are going to see results of the measurements. But before we go to the measurements, we have to also check the proximal teeth and to select them correctly. Doing this also requires the use of the brush and on the poly tool, selecting and deselecting parts of the scan, as you can see here. Now you can see that the software displays measurements done by the computer between the prep teeth and this time the wax up. So these measurements, this need of reduction that you see there is done between not the pre-op but the wax up. And now you see exactly how much reduction you still need to do between what you've already achieved by prepping your teeth and the wax up, so that the material that you're using, for example, Emax or zirconia, with the correct values given by the producer of the material, are going to be accounted for. And if there's not enough reduction, this is going to show in blue, as you can see here. If the values were not inserted correctly in the distances and scan data analysis, you just need to go back here and introduce new values to the scan data analysis. As you can see, we modify the data, but sadly, if we do this with the calculation already done, the software will still display the old values. As you see, nothing gets modified, and to be able to modify, you just need to get one step back, and here just do a little modification on any tooth that you choose fit. As you can see, I just cut a little bit of the selection that I previously did on these teeth. And now the software displays the new values that I've inserted in settings. And now this is how you can see how much you still need to prep your teeth and where to be able to insert correct crowns. And also, there is a new tool here that is going to let you just erase the data that is still with two higher values. As you see here, you just press in that data disappears. So here my advice to you would be to just go back to the trimming function and cut a little bit more around these already cut out portions, because in my experience you will never be able to reproduce these small cuts in the intraoral phase, in the intraoral stage, and you will probably end up using the burr over a wider surface. So usually I cut 1/3 to 1/2 of the tooth near those already cut out areas, and afterwards I just add more data. After you do this, the last point you need to address is going into settings in post-processing, and in the post-processing phase you will need to uncheck optimize occlusal alignment. And why you need to do this? Because wax up is now our pre-op, and this wax up contains teeth that do not exist in the mouth. So the software will try to actually set the models to one another to a better occlusion on unreal data, on unexisting data. So the results might be off, and for this not to happen, just go to the optimize occlusion alignment, uncheck it, and then you're going to go to processing the case, and there are not going to be any errors in the occlusal phase. So this concludes our lecture for today. I hope this was interesting to you and you'll find it useful. And I also hope we'll see each other soon in a next webinar with a different topic on how to do bridges from these wax-ups and how to do models and everything else related to this working process. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you for sharing all your tips with us, Dr. Bogdan. So let's move on to Q&A sessions.
Let's do this. My pleasure.
So we have 4 questions in total. So I will start with the first question.
Let's see.
Okay, question number 1. Is there any clinical tip to prep with multiple restoration, especially when it comes to anterior region?
So when planning multiple restorations, as I've shown in the webinar, I want to first load my wax up, and then I am going to start prepping the teeth. One nice thing, as you'll see in this webinar, some patients come with old bridges, like the lady we've shown before. And for such a case, one nice approach would actually be to just remove the bridge from the pre-op and don't do any prep, just clean your abutments and rescan everything. And after you've rescanned everything, just compare to the wax up. And then you're actually going to see where the actual reductions need to be done. So just don't start prepping right away, because some preps are already not needed anymore. It's like prepping to a mock-up. You just see where you need to actually touch the teeth. You just remove the old bridge, you clean your abutments and restore your abutments, and then you scan. Don't prep. And afterwards, you just see what you need to do, actually need to do. So you're going to scan the pre-op up to the op at least 2 times. One time after removing the bridge and cleaning, and 1 time after you actually prepped. And then that's going to be your final situation.
Mm-hmm. So is there any teeth that you find the most difficult tooth among the 6 upper anterior teeth?
Well, I don't find it especially difficult, because I already practice for over 20 years now. But I would keep in mind that these reductions need to be done mindfully. We need to keep as much enamel as possible. This is a thing that we should remember, because if we do the silicates, they're going to bond well together to enamel. So the reduction is not that hard to do, but it's hard to keep track of not removing too much important enamel tissue. That's the actual thing that you have to bear in mind.
Okay. So question number 2. Is there any clinical tip to set occlusion when restoring upper 6 anterior teeth?
So when restoring occlusion of these upper 6 teeth, first I would actually do a diagnosis before starting the work and before doing the wax up, to actually see if the occlusion that I'm already having in the patient is worth keeping or it's going to get modified. We are going to record the static and dynamic occlusion. For this to happen, one nice thing is to actually not only record the movement that you always should do in Medit software, but also use articulating paper with blue and red. I usually record static occlusion points in blue and dynamics of protrusion and lateral protrusion with red lines. And then I am going to scan my pre-op with these lines contained, because although I might decide to not keep the palatal aspects, the palatal surfaces of the pre-op teeth, because I now know where the contact points are. If I want to keep them, I'm going to be able to pull on the wax up regarding to the pre-op, exactly where the blue spots are, and I'm also going to be able to build my lines of occlusion regarding the red lines I recorded and that are visibly there in the pre-op.
Okay. Okay, question number 3. When it comes to anterior restorations, everyone is concerned about gingival recession. So how many millimeters below do you typically make a subgingival on the labial side? What about the lingual side?
So if possible, I'm going to start with the lingual. On the lingual, I'm going to keep it super gingival, if possible. On the labial, what I tend to do is do juxtagingival preparation. So just near the gingiva, very close to the gingiva, then I put my retraction cords in, and I let the retraction cords actually dislodge the gingiva apically, and then I'm going to re-prep to the new margin. So when I take the retraction cords out, I'm actually a little bit subgingival. This is one way of doing it. Maybe I can go subgingival even more, but in the end, I don't want to have more than 0.5 to 1 millimeter below gingiva. Actually, 0.5 I think is enough. Also, for me, retraction of the gingiva is actually more related to trauma. If you have to stabilize the gingiva, you have to reduce the trauma from the prep stage to actually inserting your retraction cords that are hemostatic and leaving them for too long amount of time there. This can cause retraction. Also, if you don't manage occlusion properly, this is going to always give retraction. So the subject is more ample than this, and you have to take into consideration not only how deep you prep, but what you actually do with the whole wax-up plan, how long the temps are going to be worn by the patient. If you have the polished the temps good enough, then the gingiva is already going to be stable there. Maybe you want to retake the impression after removing the temps after 2 or 4 weeks. So the subject is very complex here, and you have to plan accordingly.
In the labia side, you make 0.5 millimeter below maximum,
Yes.
and lingual side,
Yes.
it was EQ gingival margin?
EQ or even super gingival.
Even or
yeah, if possible. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last question. It's question number 4. So, do you prefer splitting or splinting when restoring upper 6 anterior teeth? In case of splitting, how do you split them?
So, if possible, I'm only going to do singular units. Every tooth has its crown. It's more aesthetic. It's better accepted by soft tissues. But if there are perio patients, if there are some teeth that have to be splinted, or maybe a missing tooth that the patient can't restore with an implant, then the situation changes and we might split them together. But if possible, I would go with individual restorations for every tooth, because it's much more beautiful and it's the way to go in my eyes.
It means in 6 anterior teeth, you made all the tooth separately.
Yes. If I have 6 teeth there, I would try to do 6 crowns. And also cementation should be done under rubber dam if possible to actually get them in place. It's a little bit more work there, but the results are excellent. If everything is done correctly, the crown actually becomes part of the tooth. You're not going to be able to remove it if it's disilicate. You'll just need to mill it out or take it out by laser means.
Okay. Okay, that's all about it for today. You'll be able to watch this webinar on our YouTube channel at Medit Academy. Thank you for being here, Dr. Bogdan.
My pleasure, guys. Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.